Hi, I'm Chris Young from Attachmate's North American Consulting Division, and in this video we're going to cover bulk macro conversions. So your problem is that you have hundreds of PCOM or Rumba macros. And at this point you've probably seen the reflection macro conversion tools and you know that you can click through them, but it's just going to take tons of time. It probably makes you feel something like the donkey in this picture. The tasks start stacking up and it just turns into a bear of a job. Well, nothing to fear, because the Reflection API is going to come to our rescue. Now in this demo, we've got a single session file connecting to a test host. And I'm going to go over here into Visual Basic, and I'm going to bring up the PCOM macro module. And as you can see, it's empty. This is typically where Reflection would store those converted macros. I've also got another macro that I'll go over in a little bit of detail later that's going to facilitate our conversion. So the next thing we do is we have a zip file that contains a ton of our macro files. So we're going to go ahead and unzip that into the same directory as our session file. You can see we got somewhere around 70, 80 some macros here. And we're going to go ahead and open up Reflection, bring that back up and go over into the run macro. And we're going to go ahead and fire up that pre-built macro that we've got going. And as you can see, it's starting to go ahead and convert these macros. We'll start to see some of these Mac files disappear right now. And as it converts them, any problems, it's going to isolate those into a problems directory. And these are just going to gradually disappear over time. Once we get to the end, we get a little message box that says we're done. We can go investigate the problems directory, and now all our macros are converted. We come over here into the PCOM macro module again, and we can see that they all got imported successfully into Reflection. Now that we've seen the macro conversion in action, I'm going to cover some of the code details. And the first item I want to point out is the input map action. Here's where I'm going to consume that in my code. This object allows us to execute any of the Reflection menu commands through VBA, and you've probably seen this when you've tried to tie a menu command to a UI event like a keyboard or mouse, or maybe even a button click on the ribbon or the quick access toolbar. And you'll notice that we have lots of activities available, several different types of run macro events, including a PCOM macro. And if we go ahead in there, it's going to prompt us for the specific Mac file that we want to use. Now, besides our input map action, in this code we also create a file system object that allows us to loop through all the files in the same directory as our session. We're going to also create a problems file directory that's going to isolate any macros that we can't get to convert. Next, we do a test to see if the file type is either a PCOM or a Rumba macro, and we set the appropriate input map action accordingly. And after that, we're going to go ahead and move the file into the isolation directory and call that input map action. If it executes successfully, then we delete the file so that it's no longer in isolation directory. And finally, the last line is a message box letting us know that the code is complete. This concludes our video on how to do a bulk macro conversion. If you have any additional questions, please reach out to me at chris.young@attachmate.com or call your local Attachmate account executive.